When I started playing guitar, my first effects processor was a little Zoom 707. And looking back, that was a really important little unit for me because you could plug it in, it had all these wild, overdone presets like step phases and crazy amounts of distortion and auto wahs and filters. And when you're just getting into guitar and you can't do anything on the guitar, you don't know how to operate the instrument, making a bunch of cool sounds is probably the best way to keep you interested. So masterstroke by my parents right there. But that really got me addicted to playing guitar, and I started really getting into tone chasing at an early age. As I'm sure most of us and everybody probably watching this video, you know, the tone chasing thing, it's a real thing. And having a dad as a guitar player who was also into the tone chasing thing, I was really fortunate where I was basically able to go through a bunch of his gear. And I was saying to him one day, you know, hey dad, how come you don't have any pedals? Like, one of my friends has a Boss DD3 and it's awesome. It does echo. And another one of my friends has like a Boss flanger and it goes swoosh. Why don't you have any of those things? And he used to gig in the mid to late 80s and make music back then. And he said, well, you know, there were these mystical things called rack processors. I used to have this thing called an ADA and a Rocktron IntelliFX. And he said, funny you mentioned that because I think I still have one. And he dug around for a while and he pulled out this thing. And I remember looking at it for the first time and I had never seen anything like it. Keep in mind, this is the early 2000s. Every guitar store was full of, you know, Zoom 707s and Boss ME50s and that kind of stuff. I'd never seen anything in this format. And it was like a really important part of my childhood because little did I realize how much I was going to fall in love with this stuff. But I didn't immediately fall in love with this particular unit. You can see small display, bunch of little light up things, couple of knobs. I didn't know what I was doing. I just kind of plugged this thing in and I expected it to work like a little Boss DD3 where you just turn a couple of knobs and you get what you want. Next thing, I'm like menu surfing. It was like doing stuff on my Nintendo 64. And I just kind of lost interest in it pretty quickly. And I haven't really thought about it too much for like another 16, 17 years. But here we are. I found this while I was doing some cleaning today and it was not in great shape. The pots were super scratchy. Some of the jacks were like hanging out. I've done a little bit of TLC on it and it at least works. So we're going to fire up the Digitech DSP128 and I'm going to walk you through what's going on. And just a disclaimer, you're going to have to do a lot of listening in this because that tiny little menu just does not want to be filmed and it's kind of not really worth mentioning. But you do have basically an instruction manual on the top, which is really handy because this lives in a rack. So, you know, anytime you want to read the instructions, pull this out of your rack. Yeah, sure. All right, let's go. I've got the Digitech in a loop of my Axe FX 3. I have the Digitech running in kill dry mode and I'm using the mixer block in the Axe FX 3 to blend in as much or as little as I like. Before we go any further, this is the dry sound. All right, we're just going to go through some of the algorithms. I'm going to start with algorithm number 1. I'll turn the mix up. This says it's a small room with delay and equalization. Rather than film the menu, which is really small and quite obtuse, I'll just talk you through the settings that I'm using. So this is algorithm number 1, small room. I can't hear any delay on there, so I'm guessing it's off by default. Let's hear algorithm number 2, the medium room. And you guessed it, number 3 is a large room. That's totally fine. Number 4 is a gated reverb. That's fun. Okay, that's kind of cool. That's something that, my Rocktron IntelliFX doesn't really do. Gated reverb program. Don't mind that in the slightest. If I went a little bit easier with the mix, maybe it would be slightly more appropriate. Although I don't know how appropriate any of this is. That's kind of cool. I wonder how that sounds with a distorted sound. I'm using the USA lead mid-gain in the Axe-FX 3. I'll bring the mix up a little bit on this. I'm suspecting this will be like a nice delay reverb hybrid. Yeah, I kind of like that. That's probably my favorite program so far. What is next? This is a reverse reverb. Let's stay with some distortion. Oh, that's cool. Very interesting. I'll have to revisit that one. Number 6 is delay, and it says equalization. I don't know what the EQ's actually doing at the moment, but we'll soon find out. All right, that is a delay. How do I change the delay time? I have to hit select, and now this says C. What does C mean? If I look on the top of the unit, which I imagine was really handy when you rack this up, so you have this under another unit and you could totally read it there. C is the low pass filter cutoff frequency. Ooh, maybe I can bring this down. Let's bring it down to 1.8. That's kind of cool. I like that. It's making my delay sound darker. Let's take that all the way down. Cool. And then if I hit select again, I have DR. What's DR? Delay range. So we have how many delay? 5 ranges of delay, I'm guessing, so it makes it easier to make quick adjustments. Let's put that on 3, and then I can set the delay time. So 500 milliseconds is the minimum there, and I mean, let's bring that up to, I don't know, 600 milliseconds. It's a little bit darker. This is, I guess, a usable delay. It's interesting. It sounds like there's some kind of spatial thing going on. Maybe like one of the sides is reversed in phase or something, but then again, maybe not. But it kind of sounds wide, which I don't mind either playing in stereo. So that's the delay. Let's hit select again. This says F, that's probably feedback. That's feedback. Okay, cool. And then if I hit select again, it says P for program, and then I hit select one more time back to A for algorithm. Let's go to number 7. This is a multi-tap. Let's bring the mix off on that. That multi-tap's pretty interesting. So I use the low pass filter cutoff there. Let's hit select again. Now I have a parameter called B. B is the multi-tap first delay. That's at 0.25. Let's leave that. And then I have C, which is the multi-tap second delay. Maybe let's set that to, I don't know, 0.66. Why not? And then I have another parameter called D, which is, and these aren't listed in order, the multi-tap third delay. So that's 0.75. Let's increase that and have a listen to what happens. I'll go back to my clean sound as well. And we'll bring the mix up again. Let's hear that. Very, very interesting. So rather than have a set delay pattern, you can actually set the delay times there on the multi-tap. And then E, capital E, multi-tap feedback delay. That's at 1. Let's leave that where it is because that's kind of cool. And then you have feedback. So I'm guessing that multi-tap feedback delay probably has to do with the actual delay feedback network. And then we're back to program an algorithm. Now, that's kind of cool. Multi-tap delay, a lot of fun, especially if you're running in stereo. Algorithm number 8 is chorus and delay. Let's have a listen to what this does. I'm going to set that low pass filter again. And then there's a parameter called AU, animation velocity. So that's with a 375 millisecond delay on there. Let me just turn the delay off so that we can just hear the chorus. All right, I'm going to bring DL down. I think that's delay level. So what does animation velocity, what do these things do? So apparently this is the animation velocity, AU. Let's turn that up. Maybe it's like a chorus line delay time or something like that. If I bring it down, what sounds better? This sounds better low. And then we've got AD, which is animation distance. And then we have CD. What's CD? The chorus delay time. Okay, cool. Let's bring that down. Let's hear that. Okayest chorus ever. Let's move right along. So I have to press this select button a bunch of times. Algorithm number 8 is a flanger. So it's basically the same as the chorus, but with feedback added. So there's a parameter on here called FF, which reading off here, it's the flanger feedback. So that's really high by default, so you get that swirly jet plane thing. Turning it down, I like a bit better. But yeah, the okayest flanger to go with the okayest chorus ever. And you can obviously blend in delay on that one as well if you want. What is the next algorithm? We have a hall reverb. Let's hear this. This sounds kind of noisy already. That's not terrible. You can't have a delay on with this, so I'm guessing that the whole algorithm is eating a lot of CPU. 11 is special effects, medium room, and reverb. What do we got here? Okay, what is this special effect? That is the real question. So let's go through some parameters. I have PD, I'm guessing that's for pre-delay. Let's add a bit of pre-delay to this reverb. Yeah, that changes lots. RD is, what is this? The reverb decay time. Let's increase that beyond 2. And then that's it. So I have PD, I have RD, and that's it. It just says special effects. I don't know what the special effect is. Interesting. I'm going to go back to that dirty sound. So USA lead mid gain, and with the mix, I'm going to bring this mix down. Let's just hear if we can use it as like a thickening agent on a rhythm guitar tone. Interesting, we have variations of that with the large room and the medium room. The algorithm I'm interested in trying though is this one. It's number 13. It's the multi-tap, which I thought was probably the coolest sound in here so far, and the reverse reverb, which was my other pick for kind of cool, unique thing that's going on in here. Let's hear those together. That's cool. I like that combo. Then we have stuff like chorus delay and reverb. We've got chorus delay and another reverb, and we've got special effects and EQ only. Let's have a listen to what this does. Ooh, that's kind of cool. So what's going on here? With this special effects, I can change the low pass filter cutoff. I've got like a pre-delay thing. This must be some kind of advanced, spatial reverb or something. There's a BT control. What does BT do? Let's see, where on earth is this? How good are my comprehension skills? The bounce texture. All right, we can choose between 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4 with the bounce texture. Let's go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so it just kind of makes that multi-tap diffuse thing a little bit longer. It kind of sounds like a mega tap delay or something like that, or there's a lot of diffusion on the multi-tap algorithm. That's their special effect thing, but that's kind of cool. If I just mix that in a little bit, let's have a listen to what this sounds like as a kind of alternative to a standard reverb or delay for lead stuff. Interesting, yeah, it's got a kind of diffuse multi-tap thing happening there. That's the special effects algorithm. We are almost at the end of this list. Algorithm 17 says special effects and EQ again. I'm guessing it's a different special effect. And what is happening there? Let's turn. Okay, so this is another special effect, and there is a control, S, which stands for the stereo image, and I can set the stereo image from 1 through to 6. That's kind of interesting. I think because I'm running this kill dry, maybe it's not going to work, so I'm going to turn off my dry signal. Let's just have a listen to the effect only. Algorithm 17, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's a yeah, nah for me. I did like the reverse reverb. I do like the multi-tap delay in here. The reverbs are fine. The delay is fine. The chorus and flanger, I'm sure if you tweak them a little bit, you could get some very pleasant results out of. Is that something I want to spend a whole bunch of time doing on this unit? Not really. If you want a great chorus or flange effects, I did a video with the Rocktron Repli effects recently, and the chorus and flanger in that sound fantastic straight up. And that has a similarly kind of obtuse and difficult to navigate UI as well. And I know I was throwing shade at the display on this the whole time. And if you don't have the manual or you don't have the unit unwrapped so you can read what all the parameters do on the top, I know that can be a little bit annoying, but this unit, the Boss DD200, which I think is one of the best pedals that's come out in the last, say, 5 years, look at the tiny little menu on that. And I get that this is kind of not designed for deep editing. If you want all the deep editing control, get the Boss DD500. But this kind of shares some of the design with this really tiny little menu. And if you want to tweak like the MIDI programming in this, you need the manual in front of you. But I guess nowadays everybody has a smartphone or a computer, so it's a lot more convenient to do that. But on this, you still have to do a whole bunch of deep diving, and there's like, 2 letters for everything. So you have something like ND or CA or something like that. It's just like the old Digitech. So it's sort of like the more things change, the more they stay the same with these units. You can definitely get some usable tones out of the DSP128, and this is absolutely no knock on the DD200 because at the price point and the actual tones and the features available, it is supreme. It's a really great unit, but I thought I would just bring that up as a little comparison. That's a unit that I love, and I didn't really spend a lot of time complaining about that because of the feature set, but then we've got the DSP128 and the whole time I'm going, oh, this layout is stupid. But if you only want to spend a little bit of money, you can get some pretty cool character tones out of this thing. The reverse reverb especially. Is it worth $100, $150 used just to have those sounds? Well, companies put out pedals for like $200 plus that only do one of those sounds. And sure, they're small and compact and they're probably less noisy and more reliable. But, maybe look at something like the Digitech DSP. Having said that, should this be your first rack unit? If you watch this channel or you've been watching Mike Nielsen stuff or Robert Baker's stuff, we're like the rack enablers of the internet at the moment. I can't say in good faith that this should be like your first rack mount unit. If you know what you're doing with rack stuff and you want like a reverse reverb or a multi-tap delay on the cheap, yeah, go ahead and get one as long as it's in good working order. But as your first foray into a rack mount system, let's face it, you can get all of these tones out of, a pedal, or you could get all of these tones out of something like the NUX MG300 or any other kind of budget multi-effects on the floor that has the foot controller built in. Or you could, just get something like an old IntelliFX or a Replifex, which actually has some really usable presets straight out of the box, and the programming is slightly easier. Or you could get like a TC G major, or there's so many other options out there. But yeah, anyway, without editorializing too much more, that's the Digitech DSP128, my first rack processor ever. I wish I had this video back then. Who knows what might have happened. I might have actually taken the time to understand how it works and pulled some usable tones and made some music with it, but that didn't happen. I was just spun out by the fact that it made everything sound phasey, and I didn't know how to set the levels correctly, and it was noisy, and why doesn't it work like a Boss DD3? And I'm sure we've all been through that at some point in our lives. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope there was something interesting in there. If you have any questions or comments, or if you own this unit, if this was your first rack processor, please let me know in the comments, and I will see you all next time. Cheers.